Ready. Play.
The other big upset that happened today, and was probably more of a genuine upset because it wasn't against a physically hampered opponent. Matteo Gigante has beaten Stefanos Tsitsipas in 4 sets. I only caught the end of the fourth, during which it looked like Steph was trying to salvage the match and stage a comeback. And Gigante, credit to him, was playing quite well to hold him off. But I think by that point, from what I gather, the damage had been done. So what was your take on that result, Damien? And did you see this coming?
Not really. I mean, Stefanos to me at this event wasn't really like nobody talked about him for one reason only, the fact that he was going to play Carlos in the fourth round. And that kind of like that issue still remained in my head. But having watched this, I'm not really sure if he pulls off the comeback. He beats Shelton in the third round. The main story, like regardless of whatever happened in the last few games, like it was still gonna be like a Pyrrhic victory. I think if he took it, just a complete shell of what he used to be as a player. And I was just mentioning that Casper had some tremendous records over the years at the French. Stefanos did the same. Like 2019, he lost to Stand, and 2 years in a row to Novak in 5 sets. Then, of course, Rune, but I would also not count that as a bad loss, even if at the time it was a big upset. And then the last 2 years to Alcaraz. And, everybody just assumed that this was going to be another one where he wins a few matches. He looks solid at Roland Garros, but then Alcaraz comes and, there's really not that much for Steph to do. Not to not even get there, especially for the forehand, to look as weak as kind of like not confident as it was. Yeah, it's a shame. Obviously, a gigantic moment for Matteo Gigante. I think many times on the channel I've referred to him as a player who, has all the tools really, but he just can't really piece them together. And hopefully, this is also going to be another bit where that actually starts for him. I think the last couple of seasons he basically has 5 good events, and then he can just turn off for 4 months, and do nothing. Maybe this is where something starts happening for him. Maybe this is where the top 100 quest begins. 100 points from this event. Well, not even more, because 30 for qualifying as well. So 130. When Steph was pushing him in the last few games, obviously he responded so well on the breakpoints too, with the serving, with the drop shot at 30-40. So, kudos to him, but it's clear that in this case, the main story is Tsitsipas, and unfortunately we're coming back to all these the depressing thoughts that we had previously in the year. Kind of like that conversation we used to have with John from time to time, whether it's Tsitsipas or Medvedev that we should be more worried about right now. I think after the last couple of days, well, both of them have kind of got back into that conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of both equally at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So is it time that Tsitsipas committed to the Babolat, or is this problems deeper than that?
Maybe. I mean, as I think Vange tweeted, I would like to know why. And, if the answer is something that he cannot overcome, then, it's not his fault. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe mostly the thing. We would have to know why before we start that conversation, I suppose. But, there was that one spike, right, that he had, and that was right after switching the racket. Maybe that could have done something. Still, the bigger issue probably is the fact that he has all these horrible matchups against Alcaraz, Fils, Rune, and the likes, against all the youngsters, basically. Well, right now, even didn't get there. He lost to another, well, let's say relative youngster, but not as established, obviously.
Yeah, you're right. It's mainly his matchups with the previous generation. I think I saw some of the replies under Vanch's tweet suggesting, obviously with no source, but there was a couple of people who suggested that he told the Greek media that it was because he didn't feel like the new racket, the Wilson, would help him on clay, specifically, which is interesting. But yeah, you're right. The matchups, even if he hits through the ball a bit better, it still doesn't necessarily take away his weaknesses.
That's interesting, because when you had the stats from Dubai, Indian Wells, wasn't it the case that his backhand was just getting more RPMs and more pace, more depth, essentially?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Mm. So that's interesting that he didn't think it would help on clay.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe it's the way kind of. Yeah, he did. I guess it's kind of, you've got to find it from the horse's mouth, right? So if anyone has any links to the Greek interview, let us know where he said that allegedly. So, but yeah, just on Gigante, obviously, as you say, like sounds like super inconsistent player, but with all the right tools. And today was a day where he showed them. So I guess it's kind of like, is it time to just pay more attention? Is he going to get a lot of scrutiny for his results now? It's like, okay, you've beaten Tsitsipas. Can you start winning some more challenges, please?
In a way, for sure. I mean, I don't know if you remember what was happening with Zdenek Kolarz when he had that match against Tsitsipas like 2 years ago. You know, for the next month, basically, like there's, let's say, an increase of tenfold, and a tenfold increase of tweets about Zdenek Kolarz, and most of them were like, "Why isn't he winning matches? You know, he played so well against Tsitsipas." So I wouldn't maybe go that far yet, but certainly at least for a while, some eyes will be on him. You know, he's always been like a bit of a second tier Italian talent. Of course, that's not even like something bad because Italy just has, the number of players coming up. Just today, somebody was asking me about Carboni, and I was like, Jesus, I have to first like start thinking, in my head, which one is it? There are so many of them around 19, 18 years of age. So yeah, obviously Gigante is like 2-3 years prior, maybe even 4. But yeah, I mean, definitely for at least a while, more people will be following his results.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly think that his name is going to be the subject of a lot of puns forever now. So, but yeah, great result for him.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.